everybody, I'm KC, and welcome to the latest First Impressions video, which are my very unscripted initial thoughts on Ducktales 2017, which is finally out after so much hype. Disney's been building this thing up like mad, they've been promoting it like mad, and they even aired it like mad because we're in the middle, at the time of recording this, we're in the middle of a 24-hour back-to-back marathon of what I think is the first 2 episodes. They promoted this like it was the hour-long series premiere, but in the second half of the episode, they play the theme song all of a sudden, so I think it's supposed to be the first 2 episodes. But anyway, and I've been strangely excited for this, and what I mean by that is that I'm not particularly attached to DuckTales. Like, I didn't really grow up with it. It was a little before my time. And even as far as reruns go, I might have seen it, but like, I don't really care about it that much. At least not as much as like everyone else in my demographic seems to. So when this reboot was announced, that was like, I don't know, whatever. But then more stuff was coming out about it. Like, they announced the cast and they released the clips, and every time it just kept pulling me in. It looked like something that would be right up my alley, and boy was I right. This was a great introduction. I am all in now. This show in particular, I don't know if it's going to inspire me to go back and watch the original, but as far as DuckTales 2017 goes, I'm all in. This was a great introduction. It looks like the show is going to be so much fun, but let's focus on what we've got so far. And usually, even with first impressions, I like to wait a day or so to like really think about it a bit more, but I decided to get this out as soon as possible because, one, I've been really excited for the show. If you follow me on Tumblr, you probably already know that. But by the time you see this, by the time this goes up, it will actually be my birthday. Yeah, this thing I've been so excited for all year came out the day before my birthday. That was pretty cool. So I just wanted to get this done now. So, okay, let's actually talk about the actual episode or episodes. So, like I said, this is a nice introduction. Basically, Donald reluctantly has to leave Huey, Dewey, and Louie with Scrooge McDuck for a little while, who is obviously their great uncle, since he's the uncle of Donald. But it seems like, and they've hinted at this through interviews and stuff, it seems like there's some kind of bad blood between Scrooge and Donald, but we'll get to that later. I want to go over some of the other stuff first. I will say that this, especially the first half, this premiere really interests me in what's going on. I'm not just talking about the history, although that's a really big part of it. I'm talking about this world itself. Like, I'm interested in all of the characters. Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who before were very copy and paste of each other, no matter what incarnation it was, now have individual personalities, and they work really well off each other. Like, they're still a unit. They're still a team of brothers who get into trouble a lot, get into mischief, want to see more than the confines of their Uncle Donald's houseboat, which is what they were before. That was their whole shtick. They went out there and got into trouble. They got in way over their heads. I don't know if that's how it was in DuckTales, but that's how it is in pretty much everything else. But with these new personalities, they still managed to bounce off each other really well while still keeping their original spirit, if that makes any sense. So they have mentioned in interviews and advertising that Huey and Dewey and Louie are going to be very different now. They're going to have different personalities, and that shows well in these 2 episodes without shoving it in your face, if that makes any sense. Like, they are tropes in a way. Huey's like the smart, responsible one. Dewey's the reckless one who's trying to prove himself. Louie is the laid-back youngest one. Those are tropes, but they work with it really, really well, at least so far. And I look forward to future episodes where we get to have dedicated ones to each character. That's kind of what the second half of this was, with when they go to Atlantis. By the way, there's Atlantis in the show, and yes, it was amazing. It was mostly focused on Dewey, who, again, keeps trying to prove himself as a capable adventurer alongside Scrooge, who is an adventuring veteran, but keeps getting in the way because, he's a kid. I'm not gonna lie, there are times where that got a little grating, mostly in the scene with the Atlantis laser grid, I guess, and Donald's trying to protect him, and Dewey's just being all cocky. That got a little grating, but again, I get it. It makes sense. It looks like it's in character, and he proves himself later. And I do like how they also have their own personalities, but they work well together. It looks like there is some discourse among the siblings, especially Huey and Dewey. I don't know why. I could see a lot of sibling rivalry coming from those two in particular, but that's just what I got from it. But I also like how each of their personalities fits an aspect of Scrooge. You could tell this in the very beginning when they find out Donald knows Scrooge McDuck before he even finds out that they're related to him. And they talk about what an amazing adventurer he is. They each mention aspects of Scrooge that they admire the most because that fits their personalities the most. Huey mentions him being able to solve something, like how smart he is. Dewey mentions something about how strong and adventurous he is. And Louie mentions how rich he is. Yeah, that's great, because then Scrooge is going to see some of himself in the boys, and he does. Because I really, really, really love this Scrooge. Maybe I should save him for last, but screw it, we're gonna do it now because I really love this Scrooge. I don't know how it worked in the original Ducktales, but here it seems like Scrooge is a very closed off recluse. When the show first starts, he's in all of these dark, gloomy rooms all by himself, not very well lit. Some of them shown to be huge and empty. It's really effective. Also, real quick, the first time we see Scrooge, he's in a board meeting, and I caught the Darkwing Duck reference. They mentioned Saint Canard, so there's more of that evidence you need at the potential for a Darkwing Duck cameo. Please do that, because that would be amazing, because I am way more into Darkwing Duck than I am in DuckTales, at least the moment. With this show, that could change. But anyway, back to Scrooge. And that's really interesting, like how closed off he seems to be. Like, what was he like before this? We know Scrooge to be greedy. That's basically the most well-known character trait he has. And he's greedy here, but not just in the sense of money, but also in the sense of his adventures. He's greedy and he's also selfish. Like, he meets the boys, they save him once from this awesome golden dragon. We'll get back to that. And he immediately takes them on a trip halfway around the world to Atlantis, to a very dangerous underwater society. It just shows you, like, he has a lot of good stuff going for him. He's smart, clever. It seems like as this goes on, he really does care about the kids, but you can tell that there's gonna be a lot of growing to do. They say he's been completely cut off from his family for the past 10 years. Why, we don't know. That's something I'm very interested to learn. I have a theory, but we'll get to that at the end. And that comes across very clearly in these first couple of episodes, because first off, he wants nothing to do with the kids, and then they help him, and he sees how capable they are, and he immediately grows fond of them. But as it goes on, we find out first he wants them out of the way so he can just start adventuring without really taking into account their feelings or how they can contribute. So I like displaying positive character traits. There are a lot of those with the boys, and even Scrooge, which I was not expecting Scrooge to be as fun as he was. But we also have a lot of conflict, even ones that aren't shown as prominently, but ones that can definitely be developed in future episodes. But the money grade is still there, and here's the thing. I really love this weird thing they're doing. Probably the most well-known thing Scrooge McDuck does is swimming around in his piles of coins and money and gold, and it's referenced twice in the show, where and it's actually in the adventurous moments. The first time, he's saving himself from like a really high fall, and he does it by diving perfectly into his money bin without hurting himself. That's really funny. That's a great way to have a climax. And the other time, this was kind of creative too. So when they get to Atlantis, Glomgold is there, and he actually dives into the gold in this treasure chamber to get the drop on Glomgold. That's really cool. Yeah, that's just a fun detail. It's like Scrooge's superpower or something. I don't know, I got a kick out of that. But Scrooge is definitely a character who wears his history on his sleeve. And by that I mean, when the first time they encounter a monster, like the kids let loose this weird pirate ghost and a bunch of other stuff. And as soon as Scrooge sees it, he immediately has this attitude where he is ready to jump into action and solve the problem instantly. And he does. And it's really, really badass. And I'm kind of loving this attitude cartoons have right now with stuff like Legend of Korra and Gravity Falls, that older characters can kick ass and not have it be like a joke or anything. I mean, it's kind of, the first time with Scrooge is kind of a joke because like Dewey says, "Come back, you're old," but then he immediately fixed it. It's kind of a joke there, but they don't really play up with it after that. And I really like that. You know, more diversity can only be a good thing, and that includes age. Let's see. What other? Oh, Webby. I love Webby. I don't have as much to say about her yet, but I really do adore her. But I will say this. Okay, so Webby is a very energetic, very enthusiastic little duck who wants to explore the world and know all of the secrets about Scrooge McDuck and his family, and, you know, wants to just go out and see the world. Now, a lot of people, as far as the promotional stuff goes, has been comparing her to like a weird hybrid combination of Dipper and Mabel from Gravity Falls. And on some level, they're right, at least so far, but I don't really see how that's a problem. Like, Dipper and Mabel were so much fun because they were kind of unique. They had these big, huge adventures with the fate of the world at stake, but they were still 12-year-old kids, and they acted like kids, either wanting to stay kids or wanting to be some part of something bigger. You know, and that's Webby. You know, you could tell she's a very excitable little kid, but she's also very capable. You know, that's one of the things I really like about this cast. There's no weak link, except maybe Launchpad, but Launchpad's a lot of fun. I really like Launchpad. You know, everyone has something to contribute, even Launchpad. You know, he's the pilot. You know, I don't know if he mentioned it, but he's a pilot. Which, by the way, this show is really funny, too. Like, not the funniest cartoon I've ever seen or anything, but there were jokes that got a laugh out of me. Like, what was the... Oh, there was one that got... Oh, yeah. When we meet Flintheart Glomgold, who's a really fun villain, and Scrooge got the drop on him, and he finds out Donald is accidentally working for his sworn enemy, and he's like, "You're working for my sworn enemy?" And Donald's like, "I can't keep track of all your sworn enemies." That was the funniest line in the whole episode. If we get more stuff like that, then this is gonna be a hilarious show. But anyway, yeah, Donald's really fun. I like how much they're playing up the overprotectiveness, but not to the point of being out of character or annoying. You know, it's in a caring way. But also they play it up for humor quite a bit too. And it works. Donald's humor is very similar to what it's always been. You know, the way he moves when he gets aggravated, or the way he constantly keeps getting into trouble, especially with Glomgold's group. It's very reminiscent of a lot of his shorts and his appearances on the House of Mouse and stuff. But I do like that he's going to be around a lot more here than he apparently was in the original. It's just another great personality to work off of all of the other great personalities in this show. While going through such insane situations, this is such a great adventure show. The ideas are creative, the lore behind some of these places and artifacts are really creative and fun, and it's just dripping with potential. You know, I bet there's gonna be... I really look forward to seeing all the different kinds of adventures and locations and artifacts and, you know, whatever kind of weird species and stuff we might see, creatures. It's just, you know, I know the original Ducktales is known for that, but, you know, we could probably bring up a notch here and also bring in a lot of development for the characters, expand on a bigger world. You know, there's just a lot you can do with this. So I guess it makes a lot of sense why they brought Ducktales of all things back. Not just because it's insanely popular, but because it's a premise with a lot of fun potential behind it. Also, the animation's great. It's not, you know, the most fluid animation on TV right now, but let's keep a couple things in mind. One, it's the first episode, and two, it's expressive where it needs to be. Like, there's not a lot of exaggerated expressions on the show, but there are a few, so they're clearly capable of doing it. So as far as the character animation goes, it's fine. You know, it's not bad, but it's nothing groundbreaking. But I will say, the action scenes, those look really cool. Like, the environments look great. Any effects on death traps look awesome. And there's my personal favorite moment was when Scrooge is on the back of the gold dragon. You know, you've seen this in the trailer, but the whole sequence looks really cool. It's shot excellently, and the entire thing, especially once the plane comes in and all of that happens, you know, it's not the most extreme scene on animated television, but it works really well. It's very fluid, it's very fun, it's very action-packed. You know, it works. So again, it's not the most impressive animation out there, but it works really well. It's a great start, and I'm sure it'll only improve as the show goes on, especially since it's already been renewed for a second season. And the comic book influence is there. A lot of people have pointed out that the style looks very similar to the Scrooge McDuck comic books, and that's very true. Like, the way the lighting is done and other set pieces, you could definitely tell the influence. It's definitely there. And it's really creative. Like, the show's got a great style to it. I know people were worried when the first images of the style of this new show was announced, but I don't think it's Flash. It doesn't look like Flash. It might be Toon Boom, or it might be just regular 2D animation, but I don't know. It looks really nice. A lot of great voice work too. This cast, they got a great team together. I will say it's kind of slightly distracting for me because I am such a huge fan of both Danny Pudi, who played Abed in Community and is now playing Huey, and of course David Tennant, Scrooge. Because I'm a Doctor Who fan, of course I know who David Tennant is. And they're great. They're great there. It's just slightly distracting for me because it sounds so much like them. But that's not a complaint. That's just something with me. I feel like it's something I'll get more used to over time, because I had the same problem with Kristen Schaal when Gravity Falls started because I knew her from 30 Rock. But as it went on, and even now, it doesn't even bother me at all. And even, like, the third time I've watched through this special, I was starting to hear David Tennant less and hear Scrooge more. So they got great people for this. They got a lot of wonderful, talented comedic actors to play all of these iconic characters. And there were a lot of great performances even out of that. I feel like I heard some character actors from Gravity Falls mixed in there. The guy playing Glomgold was hilarious. I hope he shows up more because he was just a lot of fun to watch. And production-wise, especially for the first couple of episodes, this show is very well put together. I think the only other thing I could mention right now is the ending and what it could mean. Okay, so first of all, I really like the scene of Donald and the boys moving in with Scrooge. Like, Donald's got his houseboat in the pool now. That's really funny. And Scrooge just playing around with a couple of the boys. That's kind of cute. But then Dewey passes by this picture they saw earlier with Scrooge and Donald, and he lifts up the canvas a bit, and it reveals a girl duck, and he says it's their mom. Now, this is interesting. As far as I know, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I know, the boys' parents have never really ever been brought up. But here in the very first episode, this is what they do at the last minute of the very first episode. They show that they're willing to acknowledge that they knew their mom, she was around at one point, and now she's not. Now, I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one to hypothesize this, but I feel like whatever happened to the boy's mom, since she was clearly out there on adventures with Scrooge and Donald, is what led to the discourse between Scrooge and Donald. Whatever happened there, and whatever it led to afterwards, is probably going to be our first big mystery. I don't know if it's going to be the mystery of the whole show, but I will say, this is an intriguing start. It probably is the equivalent of the first episode of Gravity Falls ending with Stan going behind the vending machine. It's probably very close to that. I don't know if I'm making too many Gravity Falls comparisons, but it's actually a lot of the same people. If you saw the creative team in the credits, it's a lot of the same people. Dana Terrence, the person who's directing this, was a storyboard artist for some of the best episodes of Gravity Falls. So, it's tough not to compare the two, in a sense. I wouldn't call it the new Gravity Falls, because Gravity Falls is very special, especially to me. But I will say that I am really interested in this show. Even if it's just like episodic for a while and we don't hear about this again for a few episodes, or maybe even the rest of the season, I'd be kind of cool with it because I like just the adventure. I love these characters. I love this world and what they could create, all these possibilities with, all these relics and adventures and locations. It could just be, this looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm not super into Star vs. the Force of Evil. I'm really behind on it. Steven Universe airs like 5 times a year. The only animated show I have right now that I watch regularly is My Little Pony and a bit of Milo Murphy's Law, but I think this could be something special for Disney XD. It could fill while it's not Gravity Falls, it could fill the really desperate and needed viewership hole that Gravity Falls left behind. But on its own, I don't know whether you like the original or not, I personally don't really care. As a show itself, not so much as a reboot, I can't speak for it as a reboot, but as a show itself, this is a great start, and it could be a really great show. Now, will I do a Let's Talk About It on it? Absolutely, but because this is a new show, and I never want to judge a show purely on the first episode or two, that's why this is here. This is just me rambling. I'm gonna wait until a few more episodes have come out, and once I start working on it, I'll announce it on my Tumblr. But for now, these are my thoughts, and I can't wait to see more, but I'm gonna have to, because this is a Disney Channel, and there's not going to be another episode until later next month. Hopefully, it doesn't share that with Gravity Falls as episodes go on. So yeah, those are my thoughts. What did you guys think? Did you love the original and have any thoughts on how this one adapts the material, or are you like me and are just judging this as a show itself because you don't have much attachment to the original? What are you looking forward to? Leave any thoughts, theories, whatever you want in the comments below. Hopefully this wasn't too long. I don't know. I haven't looked at the timer yet. I'm kind of afraid to. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.